is that a clarion call to moderate Republicans? You know, I don't know. I'm actually not a Republican. I'm neither one or the other. I think that even moderate Republicans have some questions about Senator Obama's agenda, largely around taxes. But as I say to them, don't worry. I mean, we've already spent all the money. He can't. There's nothing he can spend money on. So if your question is it a clarion call to Republicans to take back the party? It doesn't work that way, I don't think, because you can't move forward without the right wing, because there's so much money that they give and so much support that they provide that you can't just shake them off. And necessarily, nor should you. I mean, there should be a place for their opinions to be heard and them to manifest those opinions into candidates. You just have to decide if that's for you or not.
Now, the other day, I got an email tip that I discussed with you on the phone, saying that the money that came for the New Hampshire phone jamming was funneled through several different entities. Can you talk about what you know about that?
Well, I know that, for instance, that Jim Tobin's wife had set up a company. They continued to do political work in New England. That they were paid directly and indirectly in relation to the Chafee campaign, which tells me that he's still benefiting from his contacts in the party, and they're still paying him. They see him as having some value to whatever the project might be. I think the counter argument would be Jim Tobin's wife owns the company. He has nothing to do with it. She's out there.
What's the name of that company?
Northeast Strategies, I think it's called. And to give some support to that, not that I don't take a position, I'm just here to kind of give you the facts as I know them. I do know that Alan Tobin was active in Republican political fundraising at some point going way back in time, involved with Olympia Snow and Susan Collins. So there's some premise for that. But certainly the critics would say, well, this is just a way to funnel money to pay for legal fees without having to pay the law firms directly. What the truth is there, only the Tobins and the RNC know the facts.
But what I'm trying to get at is the money that was used to pay for the phone jamming.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, look, that gets back to my original premise, which is why I took it so seriously. When I worked at the RNC, there was only two things that you there's two things that you looked for if you were going to go and implement a program. The one was certainly one that was controversial. One, did it pass? Was it vetted properly at from the RNC Council Legal Department? So nothing really saw the light of day unless it was properly vetted and passed the test. So in that case, when I get a call from the RNC Regional Political Director about a controversial call, I immediately take it as something that's viable because he wouldn't be telling me about it unless they'd run the traps. The second is, you don't concern yourself with the hiring of a vendor unless you're paying the bill. I can't tell you who you should go get as your utility service provider and who you should, you as an individual. That's none of my business. Well, it's the same kind of thing. If the party wants to hire a vendor with their own money, they're free to do so. But if the party wants to hire a vendor using the RNC money and I'm the regional political director of the RNC, then it is my business and I do get to chime in. Well, in both. So those are the two main tests that I gave it when presented with the concept. So where that money actually came from? Well, I know it came from the victory account. The victory account's basically federal money. Oftentimes that money is transferred from the RNC to the state parties. So my assumption is that it originated with the RNC. But do I have any proof beyond reasonable doubt on that? No, but that's just my opinion based on knowing the process as well as I do.
So you have no information about it going through the Lincoln Chafee Senatorial Fund?
Oh, that I don't. Yeah, no. That's a different issue. That is the hiring of this company after the fact. Anyway, the theory is that's the hiring of that company after the fact to help defray legal costs or pay for legal bills. Now, again, whether or not that's the case, I don't know. And look, if I funnel $500,000 to the company, and the company actually has to do some work like direct mail, a big chunk of that money is actually going to go to operating costs. So I don't know if it's a one-to-one compare. I don't know if you can make a one-to-one comparison unless you're making the assumption that no work was done. It was just a way to move money through the system.
Now, in the last conversation, you mentioned that DCI, you consider the black ops arm of the RNC or the White House. Can you tell me if you have any knowledge of black operations that DCI is doing this year?
Well, FLS Connect is doing the Bill Ayers calls. FLS Connect is Feather Larson's Sign Horse. Sign Horse owns DCI, is an owner of DCI, and the previous incarnation of this was FLS DCI, which did all the calls for the RNC and the Bush campaign and so on and so forth. So it's the same players. As you've seen reported in the press, they're also the same players who did the hit job on McCain in South Carolina
Right.
in 2000. So yeah, these guys, anytime anything happens, these guys are somewhere in the picture. You know, whether or not they're in the front, the front of the frame or somewhere in the distance as a speck, they're in the picture, and clearly they're in the picture here. So I think that, and they're getting very well compensated for it. So if you're looking for a common thread, that's certainly one of them, a prominent one.
Now, what are your predictions for this coming election as far as not just the presidential race, but the down ballot races?
Well, first of all, I think my one prediction is you're going to see an effort, if it's close, to use the Acorn controversy which is, I think, the intent of what they're doing now, meaning the McCain campaign and the RNC, to cloud the results of the election with the Acorn controversy. As you know, I think that, look, I don't have any inside information as far as polling, but there's so much stuff on the web. I think you can clearly see a trend going for Obama. I think you can clearly see a trend for Democrats' coattails, because that's where those competitive seats are going to be. If you look to some districts in New Jersey, the 7th district in New Jersey, for instance, they got a great, Republicans have a great candidate by the name of Leonard Lance. It's a Republican district. He's raised lots of money. It's somewhat questionable whether or not he's going to win. So that's a trend line to pay attention to. So I think you could see a pretty decisive victory by the Democratic Party and Senator Obama. And when I say decisive, I mean he wins by a majority, not a plurality, which usually is the case. But within that too is the danger for the Democratic Party, because inevitably they overreach. They will overreach, and then things will then start to swing back.
So do you see 60 majority in the Senate?
I don't personally, but no, I don't see that. That's such a huge number. That's like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. I mean, that's a huge number.
So if you were analyzing the tactics used by the GOP this election, what would you be your conclusion?
My conclusion is they've gone back to the playbook, but the playbook is a little out of date for this contest, and so I think that a lot of folks are just more concerned about their pocketbook, and when they're concerned about their pocketbook, that starts to trump a lot of things, even race. So and then you compound it with kind of Senator McCain's erratic, strange behavior around the rescue bailout bill. It was just very odd. And then I don't think that the down-hominess of Senator Palin has worn very long. I think it had about a 3-month half-life, three-week half-life there. And I think people got pretty tired of it pretty quick.